Hello and welcome to Season 4 of the Sunday Podcast, presented by sportsshoes.com. I'm Oli Lum.
And I'm Matt Seddon.
This podcast is all about elite distance running in the UK.
We're here to give you all the latest news updates around the sport,
as well as weekly interviews with athletes and coaches.
Stay up to date by following us on Instagram and X at Sunday Podcast.
And make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel too, where we post athlete workout videos, shoe reviews and more.
Thanks for listening, and as always, we hope you enjoy the episode.
Okay, welcome back to another episode. No guest this week, but Matt and I thought we'd run through some of the upcoming track races. Obviously, British Athletics have updated kind of some of their selection policy for Paris. We've also got a bit of marathon season and obviously the Olympics to look forward to in the summer. So we're going to go through some of kind of the events, some of the standards, who we think might make the team, and some of kind of the rankings in the world, aren't we, mate?
We are indeed. Because there's a few names on that road to Paris which shouldn't be on there still. Mo Katir's still on there, so World Athletics need to update that, strip him off. But yeah, like I said, it's a busy time of year. There's a lot of athletes who are very busy at the moment, so we just thought it'd be a good chance to just break everything down, catch up. I'm looking at the 20th of April, that weekend, like London Marathon, Podium 5K, First Diamond League. Like, there's just so many fixtures about to go down, and then we got Highgate coming up. Actually, just got off the phone to Ben Pochi, just discussing Highgate and the plans this year and some of the names that are running. And I think it's safe to say it's going to be another level again, especially with some of the names. And yeah, he was really breaking down the organization that's going into it. It's just crazy. I think it's just, it's its own company. It's just massive now. It's almost on par with, I guess not quite on par with stuff like the London Marathon and stuff like that, but it's getting there. And I think the problem he's having now is actually getting all the elites in that want to run, because as the event nears closer, more elites just tap him up and say, hey, can we get a run? But unlike a road race where you can just continue to like fill and fill and fill, it's like you can only have, I think they do a cracking job at getting 30 odd athletes on the start line anyway. So I think he's pretty much near capacity on the elite end as well. We can't talk any names yet, but I can assure you it's going to be pretty hot.
Yeah, and of course, obviously, it's the British trials too, and the trials only takes place in that A race, so you can't even like knock people down into a B race really.
That's the problem.
To have people like, obviously a 10K, like you're not going to have someone who's going to be like a major outside shot making a British Olympic team, but it's not like, I don't know, say British Champs 5K, like someone could have an absolute stormer, for example. Like there's that possibility. Whereas the 10K, you got to get in the race first, which is like a lot harder than making a British Champs, for example.
It does. It is a slight headache for him because,
Mm.
last year, I can't remember her name, but the woman who won, Ethiopian girl, sub 30 minutes, and you think
Mm.
some of those women who will be contesting those British medals are maybe 31 low, so
Yeah.
again, it kind of sets up for a race of, two races within a race, doesn't it? Similar on the men's side, although, mate, let's talk about the standards, because the standards have got, or British Athletics kind of amended their Olympic selection policy. It's been a bit of a change on the wording, and there's been a few minor changes, to be honest, nothing drastic. But the 10K, I could have sworn. I was trying to find the previous selection policy. Obviously, now they've published this new one. You can't. I'm struggling to find the standards of the previous one. If anyone's got a screenshot out there or anything, just confirm. But I could have sworn the 10K was 27:10 for the men and 30:40 for the women, and there was no budging on that. But now the women's 10K 31:10, which is very achievable, and the men's 10K is 27:20, which means that someone like Paddy Diva has nailed that standard.
Yeah, I think he did already have the British Athletics one, did he not? But he just didn't
Yeah,
have
'cause he ran 20. Yeah, you're right. Actually, 27:08. Actually,
where I think the world one's 27 flat or 05.
the official one's 27 flat.
27
British
flat, yeah.
Athletics 27:10
Fine. Yeah.
and now it's 27:20, which I think is a lot more appealing for. Jack Rowe in that race in California in the 10 just sort of got a bit. He actually caught up with him last week, and he actually had COVID off the back of that 5K.
Mm.
in Boston. I think he was just really ill for a period of time, so he missed a bit of training. But yeah, I think it was just a bit of a rude awakening. You look at people of that sort of caliber. Hicks was pretty close to 27-20. And so I think these guys can go there and they can box tick 27-20 now, providing. But the issue is on the selection policy, it's all about if you hit the British Athletic Standard, that's all well and good, but you need to get a world ranking invite.
Yeah.
That's the issue on the men's side at the moment because they're also giving spaces to those who are in cross country positions and stuff like that. And God, mate, I mean, right now, because on the in the 10K, what is it, 20, 25 or something? They're going to take. I mean, Jimmy Gracier's in the world rankings quota, and he sits 25th on the road to Paris.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, it puts it in perspective, doesn't it? It it's always going to be a hard event though, isn't it, when it's a straight final? Like they can't just keep opening it up to hordes and hordes of people. So
no, they can't. They can't. And a name. I mean, a lot of people remember Jan Scrub from the Eurocross. They're giving away, I think it's eight positions for cross country, and
mm,
this is a discussion which we should maybe have, is because obviously people are qualifying for a 10,000 meter race on the track, and they can qualify on the roads, they can qualify on cross country, and they can qualify on track. Do we think that's a bit unfair? I see when it first got released, I was like, okay, that's quite a cool idea from World Athletics. They're encouraging people to compete on the cross
mm.
and stuff like that. But then at the same time, I'm like, like now it's actually come around. I'm like, is that just a bit daft? Like Jan Scrub won Eurocross on the world's muddiest. He's a great runner, don't get me wrong. I mean, he probably could nail that 27 flat standard, but he even those who got second at Eurocross, how muddy was that in Brussels? Like it could not be more different than a track
Yeah.
10K.
But at the same time, we do always make the argument that it's all about winning races, getting titles, and you take a European Championship on the cross over a flashy new 27-minute 10K PB when you're kind of running around in a train and finishing up eighth.
No, look,
You
what you're
should do.
saying, if you're an athlete or if you're World Athletics organizing committee, like you'd rather have a European champion on the cross.
I think
Yeah.
both. I
Yeah.
think the only reason we care so much about time is because of what it gives us.
I think as well, World Athletics, yeah, you're right about that. I think World Athletics did it because there are very few opportunities to nail a 10.
Mm,
They're gonna be this is it. It's the 10 that's just gone in America, and the next opportunity is Highgate. After that, I don't know if there is one.
yeah.
I don't know if there will be one. The Ethiopians often have their trial in Hengelo on the track. Like they have their trial there, don't they? And I think that's
Mm.
the only other decent 10K that anyone
Well, I
can
think
get.
that's it. The days are gone where you could go do it at a college meet
Yeah.
because the time has just moved on
Time's too
so
quick
far.
now. Yeah,
Like, it used to be Brits just go over to America, you race
27 sub
NCAA, well, not
28
an NCAA official
PB.
meet, but essentially an NCAA meet in California, and you hit your standard, and you'd be like with loads of guys and girls from the NCAA. But now that the pro scene's gone on another level, no one's running that time. I do think though the 27-20 does make a big difference for, like you say, the likes of like Hicks or Rowe, because I just think even just going off trying to run 27-20 versus going off trying to run 27 flat or 27-10, whatever it is a big difference at that level.
Mm.
They just don't blow up so much, you know.
And it's interesting. Yeah, you're right. I was just looking as well, uh, track times are valued more on the road to Paris than road times. So, for example, Yoma Kajelcha's run 26:37 on the road. He actually is currently sitting 12th on the road to Paris. And so even someone Edwin Kurgatlis or Woody Kincaid,
Mm.
26:57 at the 10 a few weeks ago. He's sitting ninth on the road to Paris, even though he's run 20 seconds slower than Kajelcha over
That is
10K.
good.
So yeah, that I didn't actually realize that until today. Um, So yeah, that is quite cool in the fact that if you run a road time, you're still bumped down the rankings. Um,
Yeah.
so talking about road 10Ks, I saw Gressier run 27:05. Actually won
Mm.
a 10K in France, beat some serious Kenyans doing it as well. I just thought, phew, fair
Guy's a
play. I
beast on
mean,
the road. Garcia runs a lot
yeah,
of good road races.
he is exceptional on the road. So, um, yeah, excited to see what he can do when it comes to the track season as well. So, I mean, mate, we've kind of started now talking about these Road to Paris rankings. Should we just go through a few events, maybe pick out
Yeah, yeah, let's do it.
a few names that we fancy for the Olympic title and sort of just talk about the Brits a little bit, who's in with the best shot. Um, yeah, because currently at the moment, if you're talking about points, I mean, 12:20 is last man in, 27th man in on the road to Paris. Um, that's pretty serious stuff. Anything over 1200 and 1200 points is usually pretty good on the rankings. Usually,
Mhm.
I mean, God, yeah, people like basically if you've run like 27:15, where's Paddy Diva on these rankings, mate? Just thinking like if you run 27:15, you're still in the 40s even on points like that your points equivalent is sort of in the 1100 mid range, which is just yeah, it's going to be very hard to qualify for that 10K.
Yeah. I mean, he should be all right though. No, because he's got the original British Athletics one, or no? Do you need the ranking as well, Paddy Diva?
Yeah, yeah, Paddy Deven needs to do something to get qualified for this 10K. As it
Okay.
stands, like it's irrelevant. When you look at the standard, the British Athletics standard, it's irrelevant the fact that he's inside it because you need to
Sure.
be in the World Athletics quota. And he's a long way because he has, I mean, look, he hasn't raced in ages. So it's going to be difficult for him. And again, this is going to encourage him to toe the line a few
Mm.
times. He's going to be in Highgate, right? Or we certainly think he's going to have to be if he wants to go for the 10. And then he's going to have to run a few more fives and stuff in the summer to kind of get his 5K ranking up because at the moment he hasn't got enough of those under his belt to have serious ranking points. So yeah, he is like he's going to need to, and I think that's what he was alluding to in the article in AW is the fact that he actually needs to run sub 27 if he wants to go to the Olympic Games
Yeah.
because he's looked at it and I don't, I mean, look at this. Joe Klecker currently, like, he's not even in the world rankings quota.
Mm.
You know, an athlete like that, how many times has he raced on the circuit?
Yeah, it's a bit bonkers, isn't it? But I think at the same time, we're starting to see this shift, aren't we, to the rankings, and we're starting to realize the significance of it. Because I think when it first came in, everyone was a bit like, okay, fine, whatever, but what's the point? Like, does it really matter? But actually, like you say, like it forces people to get out, it forces them to race, be present on the circuit. Obviously, injuries and stuff like that, it's a bit unfortunate for some people because you could be injured and then come and run a decent 10K and then not make the team, for example, like Paddy Diva. Like there's potential for that. But force people to get out there and race, and we're always moaning that we don't see athletes enough and they just hide away and train.
Mm.
Don't want to race each other. So I think look, the top guys though are always going to be safe. That's the only issue I have with it is that like I think it's harder to have a story of someone making like a massive breakthrough, for example,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
you're never going to
definitely.
like just jump up the rankings real quick.
Definitely. You say the top guys are safe. I mean, listen to a podcast with Cetus Mag with Ollie Hoare today, and you know, he's talking about how he one doesn't have the 1500 standard. So he needs to box that off first as well. And then he still needs to go to his Australian trials. Like he's, you know, it's gonna be tough. Gonna be tough for him. And I think look in the 1500, people the standard is doable for a lot of these top guys. But in the 10K, like you got and the 5K, you got to get in some serious shape to go nail these standards.
Yeah. Well, we mentioned
Um,
Highgate and remember Chilimo last year. The caliber of athlete he is,
just missed
absolutely
it.
gunning
Yeah,
it, and he misses that standard.
yeah, which is a shame. But so let's just move on to the 5K real quick. George Mills. crushing it. He's 15th in the world right now on the road to Paris, not on the actual kind of world rankings. Sam Aitken as well. Well, we're definitely going to see him in the summer, we hope. And Patrick Diva is, in that 5K. So yeah, I think and in Jack Rowe as well. So it's going to be that God, that trials, man, is going to be very good.
And it's about
Session
time, isn't
quality
it? It's
wise.
about time we had a really competitive men's 5K at British Champs
Mm.
where
Yeah.
there's spots on the line. I think we've seen some good races, but realistically, like no disrespect to some of the athletes, but it's not been like a what's fitting for a qualification for a Worlds or Olympics, you know.
Yeah.
It's been a
Agree with
very
that.
much a it's been a very high class like BMC if you like.
Lum throwing some serious shade, mate. Jesus.
Do you not think that's fair?
No, it's way better than that. It's way better than that. But I think it's nice that there's actually me. I mean, and you look at someone
I don't
like
know. You say that because if they're not running for the teams, then they are domestic athletes.
yeah, I guess.
And
And
so,
you look at someone like Hicks and his credentials, and he's in the world rankings quota, doesn't have a qualifying standard, and he's fifth on our British rankings right now, like over 5K. And so yeah, there's a lot more at stake this year for sure. I think we're looking forward to that. So, and the 1500, we know how stacked that is. I mean, it's interesting. Should we try and pick the team for the 1500? I mean, I think obviously Kerr's on it, no doubt about that. But then you just got so many like I think Whiteman makes it
Estonia.
100%. But there's a third spot which I'm just you genuinely think it's Stonia. You think
I
Stonia's
just
gonna make
think like he's just the guy. Like every time he does pop up, like I know he's had some injury problems, so I hear. But I do think he's the one out of the rest of them who can make that jump to get to those.
I think that is the hardest spot to kind of guess
Mm.
is third man on that British 1500 meter team. Like
It all
that it
depends on the prep, doesn't it? I don't know if he's back training now or what. Like, but
seems to be maybe he seems to be back running a little bit, right? Just getting back into the groove. So yeah, he's got enough time to get some races, but that is just yeah, I think it's Kerr Whiteman, no doubt. And then it's that third spot is
what kind of
just
shape's Whiteman in? Like
well,
he's
he's in
getting
good
to it,
shape.
but
He's run 334 already this year outdoors. Like he's had a few good races, like off of not racing for a long time. Like the guy is going to be in 330 shape or quicker come the summer, like
yeah,
100%. And that's plenty good enough to qualify for the British team.
yeah.
Even though it is so strong. But then that third spot, I mean, Mills, Stoner, you think it's going to be Stoner?
I
I
think
think
only because I think Mills concentrates on the five.
I don't think he does, but and then you've still got, you know, Adam Fogg, Jake Hayward, and then unfortunately it's, no matter how quick you run, I mean, you could, yeah, I was gonna say you could almost run the standard in the 50s. It could be like the marathon. You run the standard and you're almost not even in the world ethics
Mm.
quota in the 45 or however many they're
Is
letting you go down.
Giles gonna be back this summer?
Yeah, Giles is a shout.
Gonna be there or thereabouts?
I'm not sure he's quite going to do it. To be honest, and I think
Mm.
he might focus on the 800 a little bit as well. But he's upped his mileage. He's wanting to get the endurance in, so um, we'll see. We'll see. Men's 800 as well. Similar thing. We're going to have loads of men inside that quota in the men's 800, and probably loads of men inside the standard. What is it, 144.7 or something? So yeah, you got Bergen, Rowden, Patterson. Guess they're going to be your big hitters next year as well, aren't they? Alex
Yeah, I
Boral.
mean the NCAA boys coming back as well. That's the thing. It's just whether they extend their seasons.
Yeah, the NCAA is tricky, man. I do just feel like you just race so much that are you by the time champs comes around, like you've done like 10 800s already, are you through the best of your races? So
I think they are, but I also think the champs sometimes it can only be one further race. So if you can just make sure that one race, I don't think it's the best way to run well at in Paris. I
Mm,
think you can make the team by extending your NCAA season, if that makes sense.
yeah.
So this is maybe not the best in terms of like thinking about the British team performing well at Paris, but I think individually you can you can make the team, and then you have to kind of makeshift some sort of training plan. But
Yeah.
it's really hard, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. I was just, looking at Donnelly as well. We'll move over to the women's 10, looking at what potentially she could do. Now it's 31-10. What is she just she ran
She
31
got some
high.
good points from Worlds.
Yeah, I was just checking that. She's actually, I mean, look, it's top 8 on the cross, isn't it? So it's very hard
Yeah.
to break into those cross country rankings. So she's not, yeah, she's not, her points aren't good enough. They're not far off, I'll be honest with you. But again, there's a lot of women who are gonna, more so than the men, who are gonna qualify or able to qualify, shall I say? Because of the obviously they're only going to take 8 from the cross, but there's a lot up there. So
Yeah, obviously what we got to remember as well, just for people listening, is that if people do like pick one event over the other, they then get removed from the rankings as well.
that's it.
Near the time, there are a few extra spots because, for example, like you mentioned, someone like Gressier earlier, I'm sure he's on a few of the rankings, um, and th
Yeah,
things like that. So
yeah, and yeah, I think with women, it'd be good to see McColgan back. Imagine we send a team with McColgan, Keith, and Judd, like in the 10K.
mm,
That would be exceptional. That's by far and away Britain's best 10K team ever, probably. Like ridiculous. And they're the ones all kind of in the spots at the moment. And then the women's 5K is sickening, absolutely sickening. God, I'm just looking now. Like 7 women inside 14:20. That was the world record not too long ago. All right, when we were growing up. So
when are they going to break 14, mate? That's the question.
we
Next year.
might we might even see it this year, mate. I mean, the way that bitches Chebet and stuff were powering around that cross last week, um,
Mm.
just ridiculous. But yeah, I think as it comes, just to summarize, I mean, with the women's mid distance as well, I think we're actually going to send close to full teams in every event. And the selection policy that came out there, yeah, there wasn't much that changed. I think it's worth noting. I did a bit of research into the panel and stuff as well. Who the voting panel is, and like often, like I think we always say, like people, no one knows who actually selects a team, who the voting panel is, but it says who these people are on the selection policy. So it'll be made up of the head coach, who that's a lady, as Paula Dunn. She took over from Steve Maguire at the end of last year, and she's interim head coach apparently. So she basically has like a casting vote. Steve Vernon from the endurance side of things. Then there's a head of sprints and a head of field. So there's 4 people on this panel. Like they will select the team to go to Paris. It seemed pretty much as simple as that when you read the selection policy. So I know we often moan and say like, oh, who are these people picking the team? The decisions are wrong, X, Y, and Z. I think actually we know it looks like we know exactly who they are. They're the people who will have a vote, and there will be other people in the selection meeting, etc. But they haven't got a vote. They're just there to provide information and background about athletes, and maybe that is sometimes what damages people's cases to go.
Yeah, I think we should. Seems like in the past few years, anyway. I'm trying to think if I've missed anything glaringly obvious, but I seem to recall in the past few years we haven't had too many complaints, have we?
No, we haven't. And I think
Selections.
it's
They're
because
getting a
they've
bit better.
been. I think people have just basically took it and just gone right. If I don't nail the standard and don't perform on a day, like that's it.
Yeah,
And I think British athletics have made that quite clear now that okay, well, if you run the British standard, the slightly slower British standards, you've got to be in a world athletics quota. And that's the only grey area whether they take those people. Um,
yeah,
but it's and I think actually it's been made easier this year. I think when they first brought in the World Athletics quota, it was very much like you could get in on it and you could be in the road to Paris and be nowhere near the qualifying standard.
mm,
But
yeah,
actually, as the years gone by, it's kind of like, well, all right, you might miss the qualifying standard, but if you don't run British Athletics standard, you won't even be on that World Athletics quota
No,
anyway.
no.
There's going and if you are, chances are there's three Brits ahead of you anyway.
Yeah,
So like when you think about our 1500 and our 800 runners, so there will actually be. I don't think there'll be much issues. We hope
no.
heading into the summer. So anyway, mate, we've waffled enough about all that stuff. So Highgate coming up. That's yeah, had a great chat with Ben Pochi. Podium Festival Dulwich coming up as well, 20th of April. Get your entries in, people, because it's actually looking like, well, one, a great event, but two, if you're a low 14 minute man, there's going to be big prize money there for you. And same on the women's side, if you're sort of a 16 mid runner, big prize money.
Yeah, for sure. And that's an ASICS event as well. And they've released their new ASICS Meta Speed Paris racing shoes, haven't they, mate? That are supposedly, well, they are much lighter than the previous pair. Getting ready for the Olympics.
They're
So
vicious. I've worn them. Absolutely vicious. Very, very quick.
so yeah, I'm sure. I think there's some places you can run for ASICS in that event as well.
No, you
Um,
can. There's going to be 20 spots for addicts. So Podium always do that, get some people in gear as well. So yeah. Actually, Lum, I was having an interesting chat with someone this week about the very first UK Ekiden that is going to take place on the 24th of June. Lady called Anna Dingley is heading that up. And I thought that was worth mentioning because I think actually it's really big in Japan and they want to bring it, and it's got amazing backing. Um, Financial Times and the Japanese stock market as well are backing it. Like they've got funding and support from everywhere. Corporate business are going to be involved, and it's going to be on Monday 24th of June. It's going to start in Oxford, finish in Windsor, along the Thames towpath. 10 people per team. Sounds epic, and so I'm intrigued to see that get off the ground. Trying to source a few university teams at the moment to compete in that. And yeah, I thought that's worth mentioning because if that event grows, it could be huge. I mean, we talk about the road relays this weekend, and I think like the road relays is amazing, but I think again it could be something very special if it just lend itself to getting the right people involved to take it to that next level.
yeah, that's it, isn't it? Like these events, like it's great to have history, but they need to evolve and adjust to kind of the demands of the sport now, which is a bit more kind of a bit more of a commercial nature, I guess. Like people need to be interested in it. There needs to be a bit more backing. There needs to be incentives for athletes. So anyone that could provide that, I think it can only be a good thing. And like you say, it's massive in Japan. So yeah, why shouldn't it take off here? And it is out there, so like very much about university athletes in Japan as well. So nice that they're gonna have a few uni teams
Mm,
in the UK.
I think it'd be I think it'd be very cool. So if you're interested in entering, getting involved, just head over to their website, UK Ekiden. And it's all
Yeah,
on
I've been
there.
there on Instagram as well.
Yeah, it looks awesome. To be honest with you. So yeah. What else have we got to discuss, man? Some Diamond Leagues coming up. Actually, I guess American TV, American USA TF, whatever, just advertised their broadcasting for the Olympic trials. And I looked at it, it's basically over 8 days, and it's just 2 hour, like 1 hour to 2 hour time slots in the evening. There's no bloody morning sessions. And I was
Mm.
like, oh God, thank God someone is doing it right. I honestly feel like that's how they should that's how they should pitch the Olympics as well, and world
Yeah,
champs and any event, even British champs. I'm like, you you could pack it into 4 days, in 4 evenings, 4 90-minute sessions. Like, I feel like it would be easier to sell tickets that way. I feel like it would just be a bit more exciting, and just manageable to follow. And you could really have like, and the way the Americans will do it, they'll have like distance one night, sprints one night, and again, just pack it like that. And I think that's just a lot easier for us, the consumers, to follow.
yeah. Well, I think we said it before. Like, imagine you could just rock up to a meet, right? And you just watched 800, 1500 steeple, 5K finals, men's and women's, back to back to back. And that was your evening of athletics.
Dreamy. And the Olympic team was wrapped up
Yeah.
on the distance in 90 minutes.
And then sprints can do the same. Field events can do the same.
Yeah. Yeah, we've said it all along, and it seems like American broadcasters are going to basically do that. We know with the NCAs they kind of nail it. They just pack the NCAs into 2 hours.
Yeah, and they go
So it
day of
can be,
men's, day of
yeah,
women's, day of men's,
it
day of
can be
women.
done. Like they're going to have heats in the 5K. They're going to have, so many events, so many races, so many athletes. But it can be done. Just package it into 90-minute schedules, 2 hour schedules on TV, and just stretch it over a few more evenings. I guess you worry about ticket sales and stuff, but yeah, I wanted to just mention that. I think it's a much better format. And then something else here we should just finally mention, mate. Diamond League coming up. Um, Yamen, however you pronounce it.
Mm.
Not really many Brits doing it, if any, actually. I mean, Ethan Hussey's in the 800, so I'd be excited to see what the 800 is actually stacked. Jesus, Michael Arop's doing it. Wycliffe Kinyamouth, like all these guys who basically feature for the medals, major champs. So yeah, Hussey, and then yeah, men's 5K, women's 1500. That's a strong field as well. Got a few Aussies in there, like Lyndon Hall and a load of Ethiopians, all the fast ones, 356 runners, Hailu and stuff. So that's going to be exciting.
Yeah, it should be good. And obviously, yeah, we've got marathons coming up as well, but we will preview them in more depth because, as we know, some very exciting races for that Olympic team coming up very soon at London Marathon. The women's is kind of all wrapped up. It looks like they're just going to pick that third spot if they do at all, kind of off previous races, as no one's running. And then the men's, we obviously have that battle between Emil Corres,
Oh boy.
Mark Scott. And then a few others potentially might put their names in the mix.
Yeah. Yeah, and on the marathons as well, it's just a crazy time of year for marathons, and this is why, like when you look at the road to Paris and the marathon, I mean, almost everyone is inside. You've got almost 80 athletes inside the qualifying marks, hence why they've lowered them. I think it's a good thing, but I've been seeing posts. There's 15, 20 marathons about to take place in
Yeah.
in the next 4 weeks.
Did you
It's
see Kenya put out their final five and then
they've whittled it down from like
yeah
10 to 5. I'm like, to be fair, they are one of the like they are a nation who actually needs to do that. People are, why don't they just announce their team? But I think they kind of announce a long list and then see
mm,
who's, regardless of like how fast you run in the past, actually see who is shaping up the best
yeah
throughout the years, throughout the months and weeks leading up to it. Um, and then they'll pick their like top three. And I actually think it's probably for them, like that is a fair way of picking it.
yeah I
Um,
thought it was kind of cool. Like it creates a bit more interest around it. Like you know who you're stacking up against then as an athlete. Obviously you have an idea anyway, but they know now. Like I need to beat out what two of these guys, for example. Um,
yeah.
So Kipchoge still hanging in there, ready to three-peat in the summer. So
And I think it just shows they're picking their team over, they're not just picking their team on people's personal bests, but
mhm.
actually how they've been performing over the last 18 months. And I think that's probably fair, especially actually, Lum, you were in Paris last week. You were checking out the course, the Olympic course. What's your thoughts, mate? You were there on a little holiday, but yep,
Yeah,
you
I had
went
a
and checked the course out.
little stroll around. I also went to our favorite track mate down by the Eiffel Tower just to
Track is
have a
epic.
nose at the sessions going down. Didn't look like anything crazy, but there's a few run clubs going down, so pretty cool to have that there. But yeah, look, I mean, just Paris in general. To be fair, there was quite a lot of Olympic. I wouldn't say hype, but like there's a lot of Olympic sort of advertising, all that stuff's like going up already. Like all the shops are selling Paris 2024 t-shirts already, like all those kind of little stalls you see around. So it was pretty cool. There's a big clock counting down to the Olympics. I mean it was raining when I was there, so I don't know what the conditions are going to be like, but I'd imagine it'd be quite different come the summer.
Mm,
But yeah, I just think Olympic marathon is one of those races that always I never get excited for it, and then it's always one of my favorite ones to watch.
yeah.
I always get really excited for London, and I always get excited for the track races in the majors. But then when it actually comes down to it, I love the road races in the majors. Not in the majors, sorry, in the
Mm.
well, yeah, the Worlds and Olympics, for example. I think yeah, the marathon. it's a mouth-watering prospect, and hopefully, I think we're going to have some of our probably one of our strongest British marathon teams for a long time.
Yeah, we will. I think. Well, we're still not sure actually. Even speaking to Cali last week, like if they actually bother filling that third spot on the women's side. I don't know. So we'll wait and see about that. But on the men's side, yeah, I think so. I mean, as it stands though, at the moment, it's only Keres and Sessman who have the standard. So maybe we hope Mark gets it. He
Mm.
might miss it. So we'll see. Talking to Mark, he ran 63:40 half the other day. So he's in good nick. That was like a long run. Did a 5K tempo before.
Yeah.
He's in good shape. He's running well. But Lum, let's just before we finish up, we wanted to have like a little bit of a and make this probably a little bit more of a weekly thing as well. A little bit of a discussion time. A few people have been sending in like topics that they might want to that might be worth talking about. And I agree, like it would be good to maybe potentially once a week, once every couple of weeks, just have like a little bit more of a topic to discuss
Mm.
around potentially what's going on, good things about the sport, bad things about the sport. And I mean, this week, funnily enough, I was actually chatting to my club chairman about this a little while ago as well. But Para 10 for kids, is this good or bad? Like all-time lists for under 12s, under 13s, even rankings for under 13s. Do we see this as a good thing or a bad thing? Because when you compare running to any other sport, rankings, performance indicators, all this kind of thing doesn't really exist for anyone until the age of kind of 16
Yeah.
in other sports. Um, they obviously have national championships, and obviously we're not talking about taking that away, but we're just potentially taking away the whole like time pressures on kids at a young age.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, I think, because it also it's really interesting. Like, especially when you see these people that like weren't amazing juniors, and you can go back and look at some of the races they had and like some of the progressions they've made. Like, I mean, it's easy for us, like as podcast hosts, when we get a new guest on, like one of the first things, if we don't like know it already, is you just go check through the Power of 10 credentials, and you can see like what they were like, and you're like, oh wow, they made an insane breakthrough, like under 17 to under 20, for example.
Mm.
And then it's a brilliant thing to ask them about. But I get what you're saying. I think it can be, excuse me, can be quite it's potentially damaging, isn't it? Like there's a lot of comparison, and even like for people like you and me and you, mate, like every race we've ever done is on Para 10.
Yeah.
Like it's not even just like it's your like personal best from each year. It's every single race you've ever done. I've got discus from like getting some points at a national whatever youth meet.
Mm.
It's all on there, and I think, I mean, and like I'm not saying I care, but like I think it's quite a lot sometimes, isn't it, to have all those out there for everyone to see, like for some people perhaps.
And I think as well, like kids fear. Well, I can only speak from the conversations I've had with parents and stuff in the sport, but kids are they'll fear competing a little bit more in new events or different events because they
Mm.
are worried about how they match up, what their ranking is, what their time is, and again, like it's the same thing. Like it might be driving kids away from doing those club competitions because they're more worried about like what time they're running and where they're ranked. So I,
Yeah, and
I,
even
I
like
do
you can
think
do
it.
the Power 10
Oh,
head to heads as well, which
oh God, yeah, you can delve into
is
it and
yeah, it's weird because I remember like we used to do them at uni all the time, and like it's really fun and it's good when you're having a laugh, but at the same time I could also see how that could kind of get taken out of
mm,
context. And if you're not doing it with your mates and it's not fun, then it's something completely different. I also think if World Athletics are going to continue along the rankings the way they are, does Para 10 need to adjust and have some sort of ranking which is like the equivalent of that, where you're getting points, say? Because like I don't know,
good point.
for a junior, what's more important actually? Have they won their county schools, or have they won their county champs or whatever? Maybe that's more important than actually how fast they've run
Mm,
or
mm.
stuff like that. But it depends what I guess it's got to come from the governing body. Does the governing body want to promote the just steady increase of times over the years, and worry about how many races they win later,
Mm.
or not? So
Yeah, I think they can still post results and potentially have athlete profiles, but I just think the actual kind of ranking system, like, should they just bin it off for until
Maybe
you
people should be in charge of their own profiles though. As in like
everyone's just
no,
gonna have their PBs on there, nothing
no,
else.
yeah, but that's fine then,
But
isn't it? Yeah, I mean it's
yeah,
people's information, isn't it? If they don't want to,
it is weird. Like Para 10, like they never consult you
no.
to put to put this information out, and this is one of the reasons they got rid of date of birth, right? Because you had people's date of birth on there
Mm. Yes,
and
it's just age
they
group now,
never
right?
asked like where's the data protection there. So um yeah, it's weird, but definitely speaking to quite a few parents and coaches involved in the sport at kind of club level, I think they definitely see Para 10 as a bit of a negative when you're dealing
Mm.
with kids from like in the under 13 age group, and how it's just a massive distraction at that age, and it's like, well, hold on a minute, like let's just enjoy the sport, let's focus on developing, and just kind of it's nice to just be involved in your kind of local community at that age, and then
Yeah.
like get to the bigger events as you get older.
Yeah, that's a good point, mate. Like, I never really experienced it at that age. I didn't start till under 17s. So you're a bit, I think I was 15 in the under
Mm.
17 age group. So like you are a bit older and a bit more kind of able to like just take it as it is. But obviously you had it as under 11, maybe.
Oh, without doubt, yeah. I'd say like Para 10 didn't really exist actually. It was more what was the one before? Can't remember. There used to be one before Para 10. And like it would be yeah, it would be really slow to update and stuff. And
Mm.
then Para 10, I guess, I think from about 2010, 2011, started to get a lot more popular. And like it is a great tool, don't get me wrong. It's an amazing tool. They shouldn't get rid of it, but I just think maybe there should be sort of an age limit on it because
Yeah.
like for young kids it is a bit of a pressure, and
Or an opt
the
in,
view
opt out until you're 18 or whatever. I don't know.
opt in, opt out until you're 16, yeah, 16, 17, 18. That's a good shout actually. Um Yeah, so be interested to hear like send in your opinions, reach out on Instagram, Twitter, whatever. If you do have an opinion, if you're a parent, if you love it, if you hate it. But yeah, I just thought worth kind of discussing that a little bit.
Yeah, and then just before we finish, mate, obviously we've spoken a lot about like quite a few different things, but the main thing obviously being Paris. Have you got any like not wild predictions, I guess, but like things you think might happen that might be kind of if we'd said this a year ago would be kind of unthought of, unheard of?
It's so hard because you just haven't seen anyone really
Mm.
on the track or anything like that. Yeah. Oh, it's so tricky. I mean, I think Jakob Ingebrigtsen's season is going to go one of two ways. He's either going to run electric and tear the world apart, or he's going to get beat on a regular basis. I wouldn't be surprised if Jakob Ingebrigtsen loses some Diamond Leagues this year,
Yeah.
more than one. And
And
it's going to be
I think
so
he doesn't
interesting to
get
see
an
how he
Olympic
takes
gold.
it. Huh?
I think he doesn't get an Olympic
No, he
gold.
doesn't get Olympic gold. No. I think the Olympic gold medalist is someone we're not even talking about right now. We said that, didn't we? Or you said that, and then you've convinced me.
Well, who knows, mate? Who knows?
The Olympic gold medalist is someone that, yeah, we're not really talking. I think the men's 1500 is going to be billed this massive head. I think it's going to be a shock upset.
Yeah.
Maybe
Maybe I
we
did say that to you the other day. No, I just
you did say
can't
that
look
to
past
me,
Josh
and
Kerr at the moment. But it's so hard, isn't it? Because I also think, yeah, I think Kerr thrives off the pressure, but such a long way out, like you say, to
it's not going
be
to be fast, man.
the
I
number
I,
one
I
guy.
might I think it's going to be one outside 335.
Mm,
I think it's going to be one in about 336, 337, which for these days, oof, it's like a 340. Back at back in the day, because there's so many guys who run 329, 330 now, and I just yeah.
bring back
And
McLuffy, he'd have won that.
you see, if Jakob starts losing on the Diamond League circuit, what's his tactic going to be going into Worlds, knowing that he's getting beat on the
Also,
circuit?
like, how does the guy open up? Like, is he just gonna
Yeah,
open
where
up
is he going?
like at Prefontaine,
Is
for
this
example,
it? Yeah, is he gonna
or is he
maybe?
just gonna
Yeah.
like bide his time, do some time trials?
Ah, God, yeah. Right, we've so there's my bold prediction. I think it's going to be someone that we're not really talking about at the moment. And I think the 1500 is going to be one slower than 335. I just think unless Jakob takes it up, you can say McSwain, all these people, all you want, but yeah, I just think there's going to be a lap or two in there which is just going to go too slow, and
Mm.
then it's going to be one hell of a last lap.
Jakob
Um,
medal.
oh yeah, I think could definitely medal. Actually, funnily enough, I was watching that 5K back from Budapest the other day, and like Katir almost won that. Like it, I don't know how Jakob got there, but he did, and like it's almost out of stubbornness that that Jakob like
Mm.
won. And I forgot how close it was, and because you just think, oh yeah, Jakob won it, like, but
Katir didn't
Katir,
want the attention, that's why.
yeah, I'm just like Katir is a doper, and he's got 3 missed tests. I think that's it's unfair that he's kind of got off lightly in a way. With these
Well,
three missed
he's
tests.
done it because he knows.
Mate,
And
talk about that study that you read.
well, no, it wasn't a study. I saw it on Twitter. It was a survey, and I can't find it now, and it's annoying me because I want to check like some of the legitimacy of it. But basically, it was a survey, and they surveyed Olympic athletes, as in athletics,
Mm.
anonymous survey of basically whether you take performance enhancing drugs or not, and the results were something like 50% of them admitted to it. But this could have been,
It's
who
crazy.
knows? I need to, so don't anyone go quoting that because I need to go find it. If anyone saw it actually, because
I'm
I'm sure
quoting
some
it,
of you
mate.
did, if
I'm
it came
taking
up
your
on my
word for it.
feed, then yeah, then send it to us and we can properly kind of go through and have a look. But I don't want to be spreading fake news. But
Yeah,
I didn't particularly surprise me. You know
no,
me,
it doesn't,
I'm a bit
and I
pessimistic when
think
it
that will
comes
be
to
a
things.
surprise this year. I think we're going to see quite a few drugs busts as well. Like we've already seen some pretty high profile people be done already this year. I think it's going to continue. Uh,
Hmm.
so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, looking forward to it in a, yeah, it helps you, it makes you lose faith in the sport a bit, but it's obviously good. So
Very good. Yeah. All right, mate. Well, that wraps up this week, really. And yeah, back with a guest next week. Um, got a few lined up as well, so we're quite excited about that, alongside all the events that are going down as well. So hopefully, the guests we've tried to make them relevant for what's coming up, like Highgate
mhm.
marathon season, that sort of thing.
Don't
So
drop too many hints, mate.
sorry, yeah, just excited. We've had some good discussions. I've been on the phone a lot.
Yeah, for sure. Right. Anyway, thanks for listening. And I hope you enjoyed listening to us ramble on as always. So thanks for listening again.